From Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
On News Hour tonight, Court of Appeal orders ASU to resume work immediately. President Buhari presents 20.51 trillion naira 2023 budget, says 470 billion naira is for universities' revitalization. Free train passenger narrates ordeal, says life in the bush unimaginable. And on the foreign scene, car bombing in Iraq's Erbil kills 1, injures 4. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Hour. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. We begin with industrial matters, where the Court of Appeal has granted the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, permission to appeal the ruling of the National Industrial Court, which ordered the union to call off its strike. The court, however, approved the application on the condition that the union obeys the ruling of the Industrial Court by calling off the strike immediately, pending the determination of the substantive suit in 7 days, within which they can file an appeal. Trust TV's Aisha Salihu reports.
The appeal court has dismissed the Academic Staff Union of Universities' application for a stay of execution of an earlier ruling of the National Industrial Court directing the university lecturers to resume work. But that is not the end of the matter. There is still the substantive appeal challenging the ruling of the National Industrial Court. The three-member panel of the Court of Appeal, led by Justice Hamma Barka, says the union can appeal, but only after it resumes work.
You heard the court considering the interest of students who had been locked out of school and educational infrastructure that had been locked down for the past 8 months, and saying that order of the National Industrial Court must be obeyed today, and upon proof of compliance of that order, they can file a notice of appeal. We had made the point that there was no appeal before this court.
So, ASU is expected to heed the 21st September order of the National Industrial Court to call off the strike.
We will get the ruling of the court and we will advise our client appropriately as the court had enjoined Mr. Femi Falana-Ese. But I can assure you, and I'm assuring you again, just like Mr. Femi Falana-Ese assured yesterday, that there are already machineries in motion to ensure that the strike is called off as soon as possible.
Students are obviously excited by the new court order and are urging both sides to settle their differences amicably to avoid future strikes.
Let the ASU obey the court order. Meanwhile, let the government fulfill its own part to ASU, so that we will not have this issue again. 8 months, and on this note, I would like to call on the Nigerian students to remain calm and prepare themselves as we are going back to class. Let us be law-abiding citizens. And of course, we'll start the struggle of compensation from the government. We can't be losing months without any compensation.
The appeal court has tied ASU's immediate resumption of work immediately to the appeal, and this should happen within 7 days. It means the permission given by the appellate court to the union to appeal will be automatically vacated if it does not resume work in the given 7 days. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
President Muhammadu Buhari on Friday presented the 2023 budget proposal to a joint session of the National Assembly. This is the 4th joint session of the 9th Assembly and the last budget presentation by his administration. The report.
President Buhari, in company of his cabinet ministers and other key government officials, addressed a joint session of the two chambers of the legislative arm. He unveiled a budget of 20.51 trillion naira with a crude oil benchmark price of $70 per barrel, daily oil production estimated at 1.69 million barrels per day at an exchange rate of 435.57 naira per US dollars. While giving a breakdown of the budget, the president said the 2023 transition budget was designed to address critical issues and lay a solid foundation for the incoming administration.
To further address structural problems in the economy and to drive growth, capital releases thus far have been prioritized in favor of critical ongoing projects in the power, roads, rail, agriculture, as well as health and education sectors. As at the end of July 2022, the fiscal operations of the federal government resulted in an estimated budget deficit of 4.63 trillion naira.
The proposal has 744.11 billion naira earmarked for statutory transfers, 470 billion naira for universities revitalization in 2023, and 8.27 trillion naira for non-debt recurrent expenditure, as well as 5.35 trillion naira for capital expenditure. The budget deficit is projected at 10.78 trillion naira. The president stated that the budget deficit will be financed mainly by new borrowings.
We have resorted to borrowing to finance our fiscal gaps. We have been using loans to finance critical development projects and programs aimed at further improving our economic environment and enhance the delivery of public services to our people. As we are aware, we have witnessed 2 economic recessions within the period of this administration. A direct result of this is a significant decline in our revenue generation capacity.
President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, earlier in his opening remarks, commended President Buhari's administration for being consistent in delivering of landmark infrastructure across the country, saying it is important for 2023 budget to prioritize the completion of the ongoing projects. Speaking on how to reverse the increasing trend of deficit in the nation's budget, he lamented the low level of revenue generation, noting that oil theft remains a major challenge. The 2023 budget is tagged Budget of Fiscal Sustainability and Transition.
The remaining 23 victims of the Abuja-Kaduna train attack have reunited with their families in Kaduna following their release after over 6 months in captivity. One of the freed victims told Trust TV that words cannot describe how he feels being free after a harrowing experience in the hands of terrorists. Bella Musa reports.
Arriving in the community in the evening, Abdullah was greeted by dozens of neighbors and sympathizers who came to welcome him. He narrated his ordeal in the bush for 6 months.
We live in one environment under the trees, and we do take our meals 2 times a day, in the morning and in the evening. We take tuwo and soup, and sometimes with rice. That's all. It's very somehow undescribable, but the way we've seen it, how they used to preach to us, we are taking it as how they are taking it.
While thanking Allah for his release, he said it was harrowing and an unforgettable experience.
Oh, mashallah, I feel very happy, very comfortable. I can't forget this day in my life. And the first day I felt inside that bush, that was on 28 March 2022.
The relatives of Abdullah also expressed joy by seeing him after 6 months.
It was a very tedious, very difficult situation. So you cannot even imagine the situation that we have encountered. So people have been relatives, neighborhoods. Many people have been facing so many challenges. Even some people, because of the situation, have come across many issues.
It was a terrible moment, but we intensified prayers for his release, and God has answered our prayers. We thank Allah for his release, and we also thank people who helped us with prayers during our trying moment.
The family also commends the federal government for securing the release of their loved ones. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
The Managing Director of the National Inland Waterways Authority, NIWA, George Mogalu, has released boats to provide services for stranded travelers in Lokoja and Kotonkarfe in Kogi State. The General Manager, Corporate Affairs of NIWA, Jibril Dardo, said the directive was issued to the Area Manager of Lokoja Area Office on Friday to avert accidents and ease the suffering of the travelers caused by flood. According to NIWA gauge readers in Lokoja, the 2012 flood level was 12.84 meters, whereas that of this year is reading 13.22 meters as at Thursday. The organization said by the gauge, the 2022 flood level has surpassed that of 2012 with 0.38 meters. Meanwhile, close family and friends of Samson Perkins, popularly known as Chai Boy, have accused the police of hiding information surrounding his murder at 6th Avenue, house number 31, Gwarimpa Housing Estate. The brutal killing of Chai Boy and 3 of his friends, Peter Oguma, Blessing Udi and Gwazi, has raised panic and trauma among neighbors, his friends, fans and family, as well as associates. The apartment where the murder took place also served as a music studio. Trust TV investigates the situation around the broad daylight murder. The report.
Gwarimpa is a developed district situated in Abuja Phase 3. It houses the largest single housing estate in Nigeria. The neighborhood is a thriving one. About a week ago, 4 young men were butchered at house number 31, 62 Road. The killings have generated lots of comments and rumors, and because of the horrific nature of the killings and the way the police is conducting its investigations, family members and friends of the deceased are scared for their lives.
There's no arrest made so far. And another thing is the police are covering up. We as friends really try starting a hashtag movement on the internet, but everybody's a bit scared for their own lives too. We're all human beings, because yes, they say it's cult related, yes, they say it's this, but in the back of everybody's mind, there are other things brewing in there too.
The question hanging in the air remains, is Gwarimpa now a safe haven for organized criminal gangs?
A once very peaceful city in the city of Abuja have become a place notorious for all manner of reports every other day of killings, robberies, attacks. Recently, I've had personal experience. A gun was put to the head of my wife. My business premises was attacked.
Days have gone by, no arrest of the culprits and no more information. Residents are concerned and worried.
To an extent, it's becoming unsafe for the fact that they can go into people's houses and just murder them. People can be robbed at gunpoint at some time. And then this El Kaswa here, there's a small market here that is called El Kaswa. You can't pass in front of El Kaswa once it's 9:10.
While rumors continue to fly on the motive behind the killings, Abuja Police Command said it will not comment on the issue under investigations. As the investigation continues, the brutal and gruesome murder of these promising young people, their families, fans, friends, and close associates can only pray, mourn, and hope that justice is served and the culprits are made to bear the full weight of the law. While everything seems to have settled back to normal within Gwarimpa, it will take a long time for people to forget the horrific manner in which Chai Boy, Gwazi, Blessing, and B. Rolling were murdered.
Everywhere around Gwarimpa is covered with walls. At almost every entrance you can see police checkpoint and all that. I just wonder, with all this security around Gwarimpa, like what's happening?
4 young men were butchered. No, they were not killed with gun or the kind of gruesome murder that was committed there, how does that make anyone feel? You just feel like it could have been anybody.
And just like their murderers wrote on the wall with their fingers, their fans will remember them. So will their families, friends, loved ones, and the child that is yet to be born. Nana Muhammad, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And still talking security, the police command in Kano has arrested one Abubakar Muhammad Sadiq, one of the escaped persons of the Kuje prison attack. A statement by the police public relations officer Abdullahi Kiawa said a team of Operation Restore Peace attached to the command's criminal investigation department arrested 25-year-old Abubakar Muhammad Sadiq at Rangaza quarters, Ungogo local government area of Kano State, based on credible information and sustained intelligence gathering. The Commissioner of Police directed that the suspected SKP be handed over to the Nigeria Correctional Service, Kano State Command. The Commissioner of Police appreciated Kano residents for their continuous support for the police, added that raids of criminal hideouts and black spots will continue throughout the state in order to ensure a peaceful atmosphere in Kano State. The National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, in Anambra State, has arrested a 37-year-old female suspect for child abuse and murder. The woman, Udiogu Chinelo, is accused of inflicting grievous harm on a child, an offence prohibited and punishable under the Human Trafficking Act. The report.
The suspect, Udiogu Chinelo, who was arrested by NAPTIP operatives in a primary school in Awka, Anambra State, where she had earlier enrolled the victim, had gone to collect back the school fees she paid for the victim. While being questioned on the whereabouts of the victim, she disclosed that the victim had died. The suspect later led the operatives to the scene where she disposed the body of the victim. On arriving at the scene, the victim's decomposing body was found wrapped in a black nylon bag around Hezekiah Dike Crescent, Awka. The suspect claimed that the deceased victim is her granddaughter. The
woman took the girl to school to register her. So when the girl was brought there, the teachers saw scars all over the girl's body that made them to invite the woman, "Oh, madam, come back. So you take this baby to hospital because of the scars we see on her body." The woman came back, took the child, and never came back again. So these people, being smart and by the special grace of God, started suspecting foul play, that they had to invite NAPTIP. So when they came, they waited and waited, the woman didn't come. They lured her by telling her to come and now take the money you paid for this girl's school, as she's no more here again with us. She came back to collect the money. That was when she was nabbed.
The victim was reported to have died on the 29th of September. The suspect has been handed over to the police for further investigation. Reacting to the incident, the Anambra State Police PRO, Ikenga Tochukwu, said investigation is ongoing while the suspect is in police custody.
This is pure act of murder. Can you flog a child to death? And we will not sweep it under the carpet. We still let the members of the public know the outcome of this investigation. The woman in question is in our custody. The Commissioner of Police have ordered immediate transfer of this case to the Department of Criminal Investigation. A very comprehensive and discreet investigation will be carried out for us to unveil and let the members of the public how come this woman has this child in her possession.
The PRO urged the public to report suspected cases of crime to the nearest police station.
Curbing oil theft, which is described as a major drawback to the Nigerian economy, requires concerted efforts and support of all stakeholders. Director of Information, Nigerian Navy, Commodore Adeotun Olukayode Ayovon, stated this when he led a delegation from the Nigerian Navy on a courtesy visit to the management of Media Trust Group. The report. Commodore Adedotun Olukayode says the Nigerian Navy is fully committed to the fight against oil theft and bunkering in the Niger Delta, pointing out that operations like Dakata Dabarau have yielded positive results. While emphasizing the importance of the media in the fight against insurgency in the country, the Navy Information Director said the visit to Media Trust was on the instance of the Chief of Naval Staff and it aims to strengthen the relationship between the armed forces and the mainstream media.
With respect to the use of the media, social media, internet, online space, the virtual space for dissemination of information, we do that to a large extent. I know that the only restriction which was imposed by the Defense Headquarters was operational and combat related information, particularly as relating the anti-insurgency, anti-terrorism fight in the Northeast, because they discovered that the adversary also was using the platform for their good against us. There is that restriction for operations. But in the service, we put everything that happens that is not classified online.
Responding, Media Trust Group Chief Executive Officer Munir Gwarzo appreciated the Nigerian Navy for the visit, saying that further avenues of collaboration between Media Trust and the Nigerian Navy in particular will be explored.
At Media Trust, we are committed in supporting the Nigerian military, as I said, and we are committed at partnering with you. That's why we have various platforms. Traditionally, we've been known to be a newspaper company, Daily Trust. It's been in existence for the last 23 years. I believe if there's any credible newspaper in Nigeria, if you are to count two, Daily Trust certainly will be part of it. But because we have to also change to meet the dynamics of the century, so we now set up the Trust TV, which is 1 year old today. And we also have the digital, because we're in a digital age now.
Commodore Adedotun Olukayode took over as Director of Information for the Nigerian Navy early this year, and until his appointment, he was the Commandant Nigerian Naval College, ONE. Ibrahim Yusuf, Trust TV News, Abuja. The House of Representatives has commenced a probe of federal government properties in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Speaker of the House, Femi Gbajabiamila, who was represented by the Chairman, House Committee on Legislative Agenda, Henry Nwawuba, while declaring the probe open on Thursday, said the investigation became imperative due to the large number of abandoned or underutilized government properties across the country. Meanwhile, the chairman of the ad hoc committee investigating abandoned federal government properties, subcommittee on FCT, Jonathan Gbefi, in his opening remarks, said abandoned government properties across the country are worth hundreds of billions in naira. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mohammed Bello, in his submission, assured of the cooperation of the Federal Capital Territory Administration to the ad hoc committee, adding that the policy on sales of government assets to occupants, especially residential houses, is not fully documented owing to the challenges in institutional memory.
The committee has the mandate of the Ninth House of Representatives to account for these investments and come up with plans to put these assets to good use in the interest of all our citizens. To achieve this mandate, the committee requires the assistance of stakeholders such as yourselves, and citizens to provide committee requires the information, the context, and the expertise.
The existence of abandoned government property valued in the hundreds of billions left to deteriorate should trouble all our consciences. These projects are a visual manifestation of the excesses and failure to plan effectively and execute efficiently that has hampered our national growth and development for many years. In seeking to account for these assets, the House of Representatives, through the ad hoc committee, is simply trying to rewrite the past wrongs. This is particularly important at this time when our nation is pressed by serious financial difficulties.
All the relevant agencies
of the Federal Capital Territory Administration have been directed to provide access to all documents, particularly taking into account that the policy of the sale of government assets, particularly residential houses, to occupants was signed way back in 2005. That's about 17 years ago. So obviously in many of these institutions, there are challenges with institutional memory, with archival materials, and the whole process of documentation.
The Director General, National Youth Service Corps, Brigadier General Muhammad Fada, has inaugurated staff quarters at Magaji Damnyam Musa Permanent Orientation Camp, KEFI, to alleviate the challenges of accommodation. The DG said the scheme will continue to provide platforms that will aid national development and integration to achieve the mandate of the scheme. The report.
While commissioning the staff quarters built by the Nasarawa State branch of the scheme, the Director General of the scheme described the project as apt, which will solve the accommodation challenges often faced by the staff while on camp.
And youth orientation. The NYSC as institution has also continued to give orientation and prepare Nigerian graduates who have been called upon for national service for the future, especially in the area of community development, skill craft acquisition, as well as job wealth creation, which contributes to national growth. This has continued to add more value in Nigeria in the area of agriculture, education, infrastructure, health, medical, science and technology.
According to him, NYSC, being the foremost youth agency in Nigeria, has continued to contribute to national integration and youth orientation, thus preparing the Nigerian graduates, particularly in the area of community development, skills, craft acquisition, as well as job and wealth creation. The Director General, NYSC, explained that within his first 100 days in office, he has achieved success in improving security and general welfare of corps members and staff, industrial harmony and human capacity development, and sustaining digitization of operation of the scheme for enhanced efficiency.
Give his children a home that will accommodate all of them at the same time during events. So being also aware of the many competing needs and the limited resources of the state, I did not think it twice to overburden them with additional requests for accommodation for camp officials. Based on the foregoing, and after due consultation with my staff, I invited corps members with relevant professional skills to come up with a design for a modest structure that will slightly relieve the desperate situation.
Earlier, the Permanent Secretary, Nasarawa Ministry of Special Duties, Legal Matters and Youth Affairs, Meikefi Ado Alphonsus, who represented the Chairman NYSC Governing Board, Barrister Hanatu Habimiku, said government will continue to support the activities of the scheme. On his part, the Nasarawa State Coordinator of NYSC, Abdullahi Ahmed Meikanshi, revealed that the commissioning of the project was part of the activities marking 100 days in office of the Director General, and it was their little contribution towards alleviating the challenges faced by staff.
You're watching Trust TV News Hour. And still ahead, how firewood competes with gas in Abuja. Details of this and more after the break. Do stay with us.
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us on Trust TV News Hour. Now let's recap our top stories. Court of Appeal orders ASU to resume work immediately. And President Buhari presents 20.15 trillion naira 2023 budget, says 470 billion naira is for university revitalization. And moving on to other news now, Minister of Education Adamu Adamu has tasked the national body of ABU alumni to contribute to efforts towards ending the prolonged ASU strike in the interest of all Nigerians. He made the plea at the 16th Pre-Annual General Assembly lecture organized by the ABU Alumni Association in commemoration of the 60th anniversary of the university held in Zaria. The minister, who was represented by Modibo Muhammad Ahmed, said the association should use its connections and vast influence to convince the academics on the need to sheathe their swords. Adamu enjoined the alumni to extend the scope of the association to the diaspora to raise more funds for the development of their university. The Executive Secretary, TEDFund, Sunday Echono, said the institutions must prepare themselves to become autonomous, as government can no longer meet all the funding requirements of tertiary institutions in the country. Operatives of the Oyo State Police Command have arrested 3 suspects in connection with illegal possession of 350 pieces of live cartridges. The police paraded the suspects at the police headquarters in Eleye, Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. The command's public relations officer Adewale Oshifeso disclosed that the suspects, who were nabbed in Isheyin area of the state, specialized in selling ammunition to criminal groups in the Axis. The command also nabbed 4 suspects who specialize in dispossessing residents of Ogbomosho of their tricycles.
To the command, and this further underscores the importance of the stop and search duties embarked on by police operatives. On the 25th of September 2022 at about 15:30 hours, that's about 3:30 p.m. local time, credible information was received at the operational base of the command's monitoring unit, and that suspected members of a criminal syndicate specialized in illegal importation and supply of ammunition, that is cartridges, to some notorious armed robbery and kidnapping syndicate terrorizing unsuspecting members of the public in different parts of Oyo State and neighboring states, were sighted at their hideout in Iseyin town, Oyo State. Our men swung into action, and upon the action, we were able to, of course, apprehend 3 suspects.
River State Governor Nyesom Wike on Friday signed Executive Order 21 to prohibit the use of public schools for political parties without the approval of the State Ministry of Education. He said the application for approval must be submitted at least 2 weeks before the date of the campaign. According to him, applicants will also deposit the sum of 5 million naira caution fees in case attendees destroy the facilities in the schools. Governor Wike stressed that a local council chairman has the right to stop any rally if approval is not sought. And reactions have continued to trail the action of the Benue State House of Assembly, which recently threw out the bill seeking financial autonomy for the third tier of government in the state. The National Assembly had earlier forwarded the local government autonomy bill to the states for two-thirds majority acceptance. Jimmy Azandi reports.
On the streets of Makurdi, the people are not happy. They say the agitation for local government autonomy has been on for years. Different groups, political parties and individuals have condemned the move.
History has taken their name down as people who have contributed in killing the democracy at the local government level, because the present system does not permit any democracy at the local government, because it's a selection process done by those in power. It's just a reinforcement of a failed people representing themselves. And it is disheartening that this has happened at a time now. And I think, for me, and I think every Benin person is disappointed, and at every appointed time we are ready and we are there to express our grievances over the improper representation they are given, because this is not the voice of Benin people. This is not what we need. Everybody is yearning for local government autonomy, and for them to vote out this, it means they are representing their selfish interests.
The resident hinted that most of the sitting governors want resources accruing to the third tier of government to continue to be under their direct control. This resident said local council chairmen are mostly handpicked by the state executives and made to do their bidding without any form of accountability to the people that supposedly voted for them.
Because before now, a lot of persons have been crying for that autonomy, and democracy is for the people, and what people need is what should have been given to the people. So for them to throw it away is an anti-people policy. If you go to the rural areas, a lot of government presence are not there now. If you talk with some of them, they say they are handicapped and this and that. Before now, a local government chairman embark on like directing roads, construction of culverts, and some of these small things in the rural areas. But these days, those things are not on site.
But some of the residents said it is not late for the State Assembly to change its stand and pass a bill which they describe as pro-people. Without this, they said, a bad situation would be made worse.
A betrayal of the highest order. The whole country are yearning for local government autonomy. So it is an opportunity for Benue State government, for Benue State House of Assembly to join hands with their counterpart to ensure that the bill is passed. But however, they missed the opportunity. My humble appeal is that they should have a rethink and reconsider the bill.
And I think it's not late. If I'm to advise them, I will advise them that they should reconsider their decision so as to do things that will be in tandem with the desire of the masses.
As required by law, the National Assembly has forwarded the local government autonomy bill to the states for two-thirds majority acceptance. In the case of Benue State, the Assembly rejected the bill in its plenary of 30th September 2022.
Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike has signed a legal instrument into law as an executive action sequel to the resolution of the State House of Assembly. With the signing, the recognition of that accorded Celestine Omehia the status of former governor of the state with accruable rights and benefits is now cancelled. Governor Wike signed the instrument at the Rivers State Government House, Port Harcourt, when it was presented to him by the State Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice Zaccheaus Adango. The governor disclosed that he had always respected resolutions from the State House of Assembly and never had any reason to disagree with them. Governor Wike, who stressed the need for people should keep politics away from what had been done, further urged people to get a copy of the Supreme Court judgment and understand that it is the right thing to derecognize Omehia in the eye of the law.
I have signed Order 21, Executive Order 21, which have been sent for Gazette. Executive Order 21 prohibits anybody who carried out campaign in primary school, secondary school, or even any public school without the approval of the Commission of Education. Because we cannot continue to allow our infrastructure being destroyed. Some people will go for campaign, they will fight. Who are the losers? So they will go and break the windows of the classrooms. At the end of the day, you come back and say, oh, government is not doing anything. So if you want to campaign in public schools, you have to apply 2 weeks to that campaign, to the time. So many people will bring in politics. Once you know that your conscience is clear and you're doing the right thing, you don't bother yourself, you move on and do the work you're supposed to do. When you did it in 2015, 2016, people were praising you, that was right. When you have now said, look, no, we did the wrong thing, let's do the right thing. Those that are not happy will always they will no longer praise. So for you, what's important is, can people take the copy or the judgment of Supreme Court and what the Supreme Court say?
Now to health matters, where Nigeria has recorded 961 suspected cerebrospinal meningitis cases and 56 deaths in 32 states and the Federal Capital Territory this year. This was disclosed by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, NCDC. Director General of NCDC, Ifedayo Adetifa, in a statement on Thursday, said the organization, with the support of partners, continues to work with affected states to improve surveillance given the underreporting of cases. He said the center also executed strategic prevention and control activities to strengthen preparedness, detection and response to meningitis outbreaks. According to him, cerebrospinal meningitis is an epidemic-prone disease with cases reported all year round in Nigeria. Meanwhile, the Vice-Chancellor, Redeemers University Ede in Osun State, Anthony Akinola, has said the breakthrough recorded in dealing with infectious diseases in Nigeria is because of availability of facilities for testing. The Vice-Chancellor said the nation's breakthrough in Ebola, monkeypox and coronavirus disease started from the institution's African Center for Excellence for Economics of Infectious Diseases. Akinola said the center tested over 100,000 cases of coronavirus disease free of charge, noting that there is a decline in confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the past couple of months.
And what have you, and even coronavirus started from Redeemers University, ASTID. You can ask, you can search. In fact, it was through the effort of ASTID that we were able to curtail Ebola in Nigeria. And the same thing happens with this COVID-19. We conducted tests for virtually all the states in this western part of the country. Osun, Ogun, Oyo, Lagos, all the states. They conducted nothing less than to about 150, 170,000 tests. And we did that free.
ASTID has been testing COVID-19 since the first case was detected in February 2020. And till date, we have tested well over 100,000 samples. That is suspected cases. And we have sequenced 5,000 genomes that have been submitted to public database for subsequent or secondary data use for drug development, vaccine development, and also diagnostics. Presently, we do not have so much of the cases being reported, and what we don't know is whether they are in existence or it has just become a common kind of infection like malaria that does not take so much of attention.
Women have been admonished to focus on acquiring knowledge and enable them live impactful lives. Stakeholders gave the admonition in Yola during the 18th National Conference of Forum for African Women Educationalists and a non-governmental and non-profit forum championing women issues. Silas Lawan has the report.
With the theme, Repositioning Women Access to Quality Education for Improved Social Development, the 18th National Conference of the Forum stressed the importance of women and girl-child education. Due to the complexity of gender constraints to female education, stakeholders said they are putting more effort toward advancing girl-child education.
As FAWE, we stand for gender equity and equality. And it's about giving opportunity. It's not about fighting for anything or fighting anybody, but it is giving equal opportunity to all, whether they are men or women, whether they are girls or boys. And you'll agree with me that education is the most important gift that you can ever give to anybody. And it's for that reason that FAWE fights for those that are vulnerable. It fights for those that are voiceless, those who are not able to wake up or able to stand up and advocate for their rights.
We've been able to train 17,000 youths in computer literacy. And that is solely because we were wondering why students in the rural areas would have to write JAMB, which is the only body that gives you admission into a tertiary institution. So we delved into it and said, okay, let us see how we can help our youths, especially in the rural areas, reach the computer, touch the computer, appreciate the computer, use the computer, and prepare for JAMB.
They also emphasized the reinforcement of women and girl-child education campaigns through strategic partnerships with education stakeholders.
Here in Adamawa State, we trained about 200 girls from the IDP camp on the entrepreneurship skills. And in educational assistance, we do intervene in different aspects of women education, intervening in those women that are married and wants to go back to school and they are not being opportune. Sometimes, or most of the times, we do take care of the babies they have and give their own opportunity to go further there. The focus is maintaining the girls in the school and making them to be in school, complete their school successfully.
As stakeholders remain hopeful that girls and women education in sub-Saharan Africa will receive greater attention, they are calling for sustained advocacy at the global, regional, national and community levels to build awareness and consensus on the social and economic advantages of women and girl-child education. From Yola, Silas Lawan, Trust TV News.
And still staying in the northeast, Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum has said that payment to clear the backlog of promotion arrears of civil servants will commence next year. He disclosed this during the swearing-in of the Borno State Civil Service Commission chairman at the Government House in Maiduguri. Governor Zulum, who lamented the inherited unpaid benefits that accumulated since 2016 during the biometric data capture, promised to reposition the civil service as captured in his 25-year development framework and 10-year strategic plan. He added that the state government will initiate the computerization of the Commission's record-keeping and retrieval system for effective performance of the Commission.
Look at the backlog of areas. Not any government can pay in a day. You have to give me recommendations on how possible we shall phase out payments of promotional benefits. But at least each and every deserving civil servants must get these promotional benefits, one promotional benefits by January 2023, inshallah. And then on the issue of promotion, there's a lot of people in the civil servants that were promoted without recourse to the civil service rules and regulations. They are all sitting administrators, people of high integrity and sound managerial skills, and therefore ask you to bring to bear these qualities in your new assignment as the government, and people of Borno State expect nothing but the best from you. Let me at this juncture use this opportunity and enjoy the newly sworn in management of the Commission to, as a matter of urgency, put in place the modalities for conducting the first promotional examination in the Borno State Civil Service, public service. I hope that you will all add value for our rehabilitation and settlement drive by ensuring that we have a vibrant workforce that will fully drive the policy trust of this government, of primary goal is speedy and enhanced recovery.
We shall be with you in this attitude of dispensing public trust. Your Excellency, we pledge and promise to discharge our mandates with absolute loyalty, decorum, and wisdom. Our experiences of over 4 decades of public service will be deployed to position the public service to your admiration.
And despite rapid urbanization, women in Abuja are using firewood for cooking. While use of gas and charcoal prevails in the city, a biting economic situation may be responsible for firewood use largely by low-income earners. Trust TV's Kabir Lawal examines how firewood is frequently used for cooking and the people using it despite health implications. The report.
Abuja is one of the fastest growing cities in the world. Though Abuja is home to the rich and the powerful, it is recording influx of people from all sections of the country. Little wonder firewood market is still thriving, even when a large percentage of the population is using gas for cooking. Smoke from firewood is known to be generally dangerous to health, but the population known to be at greater risk include children, teenagers, and other older adults. Also at the more risks are people with lung disease, asthma, heart disease, outdoor workers, and the homeless, among others. Despite these challenges, many who cannot afford cooking gas due to lack of adequate finance still find themselves faced with the option of firewood. Food vendors who told Trust Television why they use firewood added that they know about the health implications but don't have any other means of purchasing gas for their businesses.
I know that this firewood, they have effect because they have a smoke, and that smoke can affect somebody. Your eyesight, it can affect you. Even in your head, the fire can affect you.
Gas that they are using now, if you put it maybe 2 days, 3 days, the gas had been finished. And if you don't have money to be putting the gas, your parent cannot eat at home. But firewood, you can move to anywhere. You can meet the firewood and use it and cook the corn. Example like this corn now, if you don't use plenty firewood, you cannot be able to do. If you cook it in gas, if the corn is not done very well, it will make your stomach to pain.
Some women who insist on cooking with firewood said it is not just cheap, but the food cooked with firewood has a unique taste, which brings out the authenticity of the flavor, making it attractive to consumer.
The reason why I use firewood, because the firewood is very helpful. It helps me in many ways. It's more or less cheaper than all this gas now. And not only that, when I use it and cook soup or stew, the taste will be more very sweet, delicious than all those gas.
A medicine vendor said apart from causing havoc to the body system, firewood affects the environment negatively and contributes to deforestation.
Then another way again, if they are using firewood in the community, it will lead to deforestation. They will end up making environment, understand? But they will end up entering bush, cutting the bush, that is trees, which will make the community now they exposed to either weathers. That is the climate change of that environment will be in the high side.
Firewood smoke contains such compounds as carbon monoxide, which are all dangerous to the health. Kabir Lawal, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now let's join Chamun Dabeng for business news.
A record 20.51 trillion naira 2023 appropriation bill has been handed to the National Assembly by President Muhammadu Buhari. On Friday, the president delivered the speech to the joint session of the National Assembly in the House of Representatives temporary chamber. The 2023 transition budget, according to President Buhari, was created to address pressing concerns and set a strong basis for the succeeding administration. According to the criteria and fiscal hypothesis, he stated that the revenue generation should total around 16.87 trillion naira. According to the budget's breakdown, statutory transfers received 744.11 billion naira. Non-debt recurrent costs received 8.27 trillion naira. Overhead expenses received 1.1 trillion naira and capital expenditures received 5.35 trillion naira. The largest cryptocurrency exchange in the world, Binance, reported on Friday that scammers had stolen Bitcoin worth about $100 million. The entire amount taken was $580 million, but according to firm head Changpeng Zhao, over 80% of it had been instantly frozen and the harm was just about $100 million. The exchange's designated currency, BNB, was produced more than necessary due to an exploit in the system. He said in a tweet, but he asserted the problem had been controlled and assured his 7 million followers that their money is secure. This incident ranks amongst the largest thefts in the history of cryptocurrencies and occurs during a year in which criminals who prey on the industry have made off with billions of dollars. According to the Lagos administration, a new airport will be built along the state's Lekki-Ekpe axis. The governor of Lagos State, Senior Special Assistant for New Media, Jibril Gawat, revealed this on Friday in a string of tweets. According to Gawat, who cited the governor's special advisor on public-private partnerships, Okpe George, the project is anticipated to get underway the next year and will be built on a 3,500-acre plot of land. That's all for business news. I am Chamun Dabeng.
Now a look at the foreign scene, where one person was killed and 4 others injured when a vehicle exploded in the northern Iraqi city of Erbil, according to the counterterrorism service of the semi-autonomous Kurdish region. An explosive device attached to the bottom of the car detonated at about 1 p.m. on Friday, killing the driver and injuring 2 women and 2 children who were in the car. The statement added that the counterterrorism service has opened an investigation into the incident. The Kurdistan 24 news outlet says the explosion took place in the Serzbati neighborhood in Erbil, adding that firefighters were working to extinguish the fire at the scene. A Patriotic Union of Kurdistan party official who spoke to Reuters in a news agency on condition of anonymity identified the driver, who was killed, as 41-year-old Haukar Abdullah, and the 2 women injured as his wife and sister. Meanwhile, in sports, George Russell said he had no idea of the competitive order at the first Japanese Grand Prix in 3 years after topping wet day Friday practice. The Britain-headed teammate Lewis Hamilton to a Mercedes 1-2 on the first day of F1 running at Suzuka since 2019 as a result of the pandemic. And that wraps up Trust TV News Hour for tonight. For more news, you can subscribe and follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Have a good evening.